the fact that you get into these things early, I think it's extremely good for society, and it's almost never taught in schools, right? Just the ability to think critically and the ability to just look at what other people have done already, the history of philosophy itself. At least we've never been taught that in school, and I think that would really help someone like me to evolve, get that real alpha male energy, which I've never found.
Exactly. And so I think, and I want to expand more on the critical thinking idea, because I feel like a lot of people like high key lack that.
Like we do too.
Yeah. And I'm sure we do too. But the biggest thing like is just like, I want you to talk about, okay. So I don't know if you ever argued with someone who refuses to listen. I've a very close friend of mine, and he does this thing where if you try to have a discussion with him, he turns it into an argument. And then he says, and this is my favorite quote, "I understand, but," he'll tell you you're right. And then in the next sentence, he says, "But here's why you're wrong."
Right.
And then you disprove his point, and then he restates the same point.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So critical thinking skills, something that he very clearly lacks. You know what I'm saying?
That can be taught through philosophy.
Like, it can be taught through philosophy. Exactly.
If X equals Y, then Y equals X. Like those sorts of things.
And it's also like, it teaches you humility as well. Like you're not always right. You're not always you always have room to grow. And that's also something that I think is very essential that philosophy teaches us all.
Yeah.
Like the thing is like, even though like, I'll admit I'm still not, 100% perfect when it comes to, like managing my own emotions and stuff like that. Right. Like, if I have a very strong opinion about something, like I won't usually back down from it, but I don't think there's been a single time in extremely recent history where I've been extremely illogical about something. Like if I'm given like a set of facts and I'm presented to them in like a logical way, which is like, this is why you're wrong, then I'll be like, oh yeah, my bad. Like, and I think that's a skill that I only could have learned via philosophy, because if I was unable to recognize like things like humility, things like patience, things like learning to pick your battles, and things like allowing yourself to grow instead of, being caught up in your own ego and refusing to allow yourself to, undergo that growth, then I'd be in a much worse place overall.